In his statement, the Taoiseach set out the wide range of measures already taken or under development at an EU level to protect citizens and businesses during the current crisis. As at home, the focus has rightly been on protecting life and health in the first instance, as well as working to mitigate economic damage and to chart a path to recovery. Leaders have also rightly recognised that for the fight against COVID to be successful, it has to have a global reach, and the EU has an important leadership role to play. We saw this in action on Monday, as I've just mentioned, when the EU took the lead in hosting a pledging conference in which overall €7.4 billion was pledged in support of the search for a vaccine, for medicines and for tests. This is something that Ireland strongly supports, and again, as I've just mentioned, and as the Taoiseach outlined, on behalf of the Irish people, we announced a pledge of €18 million to the Vaccine Alliance. This will be paid over the course of the next 5 years so that the poorest countries in the world will have access to COVID-19 vaccine if, and obviously we hope, when it is developed. That funding adds to the €60 million, again, as I mentioned, that Ireland has committed previously. We have quadrupled our contribution to the World Health Organization also to €9.5 million. Until there are effective diagnostics, treatments and a vaccine universally available, every region and every country remains vulnerable to new or to a renewed surge of the pandemic. On the 8th of April, Development Ministers endorsed the Team Europe Global Response to COVID-19 with €15.6 billion mobilised by the Commission, by the EIB, and over €4 billion of that by Member States, targeting fragile and vulnerable countries. Such countries are facing enormous health and economic challenges as a result of the pandemic. The Team Europe collective approach is designed to improve a fast response on the ground where it's needed most, supporting health systems, but also helping to alleviate the socio-economic impacts of COVID-19. Later today, or I would say now in the next 20 minutes, the Taoiseach will take part by video conference in a summit of the EU and the Western Balkan leaders. The key focus of that summit will be cooperation and support between the EU and the region throughout this crisis. On the 29th of April, the European Commission announced over €3.3 billion of EU financial support mobilised jointly with the European Investment Bank to specifically benefit the Western Balkan citizens. And having just been on a conference this morning with many of them, I think now more than ever, particularly as we move towards the enlargement, opening up of the enlargement session process with North Macedonia and Albania, it's important that citizens see this solidarity, and it's important that also as we exit this crisis that we work in unison, not just within the EU but with our partnering countries and member states. We've seen from the beginning of this crisis that this virus does not respect borders, does not recognise countries. To beat it and to forge a recovery, as we, Ireland, and as I've said, the EU, we need to think and act globally. This week the EU took a significant step in this regard. Ireland has made very clear that we are willing and ready to play our part with our EU partners, but with the rest of the world in the global fight against COVID-19. Thank you.